8:37. Welcome back. This is CFRA Live. I'm Andrew Pinsent with you on a Saturday morning here. A little bit chilly, gearing up for the Help Santa Toy Parade that is happening at 11 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. Also, you'll want to bundle up if you are heading out there today. But right now, it is time for our weekly rundown news panel. Joining us on the phone this morning is Keenan Wellar. He's the co-leader and director of communications at Live, Work, Play. Keenan, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
Nice to hear your voice again. And Jenn Jefferys is a freelance writer, also joining us this morning. Jen, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Oh, no problem at all. And we were chatting a little bit about this with Glenn Gower earlier on this hour, but just kind of talking about the $50 million shortfall we see in OC Transpo's budget. We're dipping into some city reserves. We're also weighing some possible layoffs as well. I guess, Jen, I'll start with you. Just how concerned are you about the current state of OC Transpo right now when it comes to its, I guess, fiscal situation?
Well, very.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's the fiscal part, but more just the everything in general part.
Confidence, it almost seems.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously got a bit of a PR issue, like crisis on their hands, I guess, as a company, but I'm less inclined to sympathize with the company that my taxes have been paying for the 15 years that I've lived in Ottawa, and I've seen, for lack of a better term, a bit of a train wreck situation in terms of the way that they manage their money and their company and their infrastructure projects, including the light rail transit program project. I'm reminded, I don't know, every time I think of OC Transpo, I think of some of like the spray paint that I saw on walls in 2008, like way back when I was still in my undergrad.
During the strike, I imagine, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to forgive me, Andy. You're going to hear my cat.
Oh, that's all right. It's Saturday.
The morning and she's hungry and she doesn't understand who I'm talking to. Anyways, yeah, the bus strike in 2008, in like the dead of winter, Ottawa's a winter city. That kind of left a bad taste in my mouth 15 or so years ago.
And we're still going.
And we're still going, like 15 years later. Like, what on God's green earth is wrong with this company? I don't understand.
And, a big kind of transition, I guess, we've seen in terms of people in the workforce and traveling. So that's kind of also played into it, too. Are they ready to kind of, I guess, change pace on this? But, Keenan, are you concerned right now about the state of OC Transpo? Maybe not just the fiscal side of it as well, but just its overall sense, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, to be honest. So yeah. I've been, a bus user going back to the 70s myself. But, at Live, Work, Play, we support people with intellectual disabilities and autistic persons, and public transit is pretty much it for about 99% of them. And I guess just understanding how much this ties into everything else. It ties into employment and housing and multiple issues. And, yeah, like Jen said, it just makes me sad that the people who pay for the mistakes of others are always those furthest from the control over those things. So all the boondoggles, it's people who don't have the choice. I just keep getting so sad watching the news, and people are, I don't think they're faking either. They're saying they're abandoning public transit. That's really tragic to see. People that were bus and train users and saying, I'm taking Uber or I'm going back to a car. We just can't have it. I don't know how we're going to fix this, but we have to. I mean, it's critical. It's a city of 1 million people. We have to get this right.
I've heard some of those anecdotes as well, Keenan. And from that sense, I guess, is there a concern that, you're only using it if you absolutely need to because of the service, right? And it seems like, you're kind of stuck with it almost.
And that's the beginning of the end of anything good quality in funded services in a civil society. So as soon as people don't see the relevance to them, it loses support. People don't want to pay for it because they feel it's a waste of money. And then the people that need it most are the ones that suffer. So we just have to fix this, and we cannot abandon public transit.
Especially one would think in a G7 capital, but kind of similarly this week, I wanted to ask about the budget, because the shortfall for OC Transpo just kind of one thing, but we talked about this 2.5% cap on the kind of property tax increase that's been in line with what Mayor Mark Sutcliffe has promised throughout the course of his campaign. But we're seeing like basically every city service go up, right? On city parking, $4 an hour, it's going up. All of the fees are going up. So I was kind of wondering, does it matter if it's a 2.5% cap if all of the other fees are going up? I guess, Jen, I'll start with you.
Well, I think it's, I'm not a property owner in Ottawa. For the sake of disclosure, Andy, you probably know this, I rent.
We're in the same building, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to dox either of us, but that doesn't really matter, right? Because we're still paying taxes to be here. When we park in this city, we're paying to park, we're spending our money in this city every day. We're still, taxpayers contributing to our municipality. And I don't know, in my opinion, anywhere in customer service or in any for-profit business, which unfortunately municipalities technically are for-profit businesses, I like to get my money's worth.
Yeah.
And I like to get what I pay for. So, Ottawa is a phenomenal, beautiful, wonderful, prosperous city with lots of, potential. But, when things like this happen and when taxes go up, I have to ask, where's my money going?
Yeah.
What are the quality of services I'm receiving?
I was just going to say, you feel like it's almost like at the grocery store, you feel the same thing, right? Like you feel like, what value are you getting?
Yeah. And like Keenan said, when, we're basically leaving a heck of a lot of people behind, in certain situations. Like I think of, a late friend of mine who had muscular dystrophy and relied on OC Transpo services to get around because he couldn't walk and he couldn't take a regular bus. And those services weren't that good. So, you got to ask the question, are we getting what we're paying for essentially to live here? Yeah.
The question remains unanswered, I guess, at this point. But Keenan, do you think we are getting our money's worth here? I guess you could say that, city services going up means that people that aren't property owners are also kind of contributing to the tax increase as well. But it seems like we're kind of paying everything for more.
Well, we kind of get the politics we deserve, right? So, as as a certified governance trainer, you should not be having a budget discussion just based on where you're going to freeze it. You should actually be talking about everything that needs to be done and how we're going to pay for it. So I lament these, we've fallen into these, classic, I don't know when it first started, but I remember just what are we doing? Councillors celebrating because they set the increase at 2.9 and there was a big party and I was like, okay, but it's irrelevant. The costs are the costs, the commitments you've made and what it's going to cost. So I just 100%. Find that whole thing disappointing, but I kind of do, the parking fees, people that are able to, I don't want to pick on car owners, but typically I am one and it does typically mean I can probably afford things a lot more than other people. So I'm not going to lament the parking fees too much, but just the overall strategy and policy of looking at freezes while other costs are just being moved somewhere else.
Totally.
I think we just have to wise up as an electorate.
Well, we kind of talk about I guess, reviews and things like that, Keenan. It sounds like you're saying, we're kind of doing this piecemeal instead of looking at the big picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 8:45 here on CFRA Live, our weekly rundown panel. I was asking as well, just kind of keeping it light again for the holidays. We are kicking off a big holiday season this weekend. Of course, the Help Santa Toy Parade's happening, but we are seeing Canadians sticking with the pocketbook, planning on spending less this year around the holidays. Keenan, are you one of those that are trying to stretch those dollars over the holidays?
To be honest, I'm 55, and Christmas with my family is basically an exchange of practical items, so it's a net.
Good, yeah. I like that.
It doesn't really matter what budget we set. We're going to basically exchange needed items for the next year, so it doesn't affect me. But I do see. I have a lot of colleagues with kids at that age, and they're making some hard decisions for sure. I hear those conversations, and I think they're focusing on fun things, but also practical. Like maybe it's more about, announcing the family vacation as a Christmas gift, things like that.
Yeah, I know. As I get older, socks and boxers are definitely a welcome addition to Christmas gifts. But Jen, what about you? Are you trying to make those kind of dollars stretch a little bit more over the holidays?
I'm tripping over what you just said because I feel like remember when you're a kid and you open your stocking and you get socks and you're like, oh, brutal, this sucks. And now in our 30s, it's like, oh, thank God, I really needed those.
Yeah, I love it.
Same. And so does my cat. I might add, who loves to play with them. But Yeah, I mean, what dollars, first of all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, am I really, like, do I have dollars even to stretch? I loved Keenan's idea, and in fact, I'm going to pitch that to my family maybe this season, is like, do we really need new anything? Like, why don't we just, exchange things that we need and just enjoy each other's company? Because that's really, they say what the holidays are supposed to be about, or just, sitting around in a room and swiping away on your phone next to each other, and enjoying each other's company, which sadly seems to be the case. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a few times of the year that I get really excited, and actually Christmas is one of those. And I have a 1-year-old niece who I intend to spoil to the best of my ability, because she's like kind of almost at the point where she kind of knows when something fun and exciting is happening, and I'm very excited to see Christmas through her eyes this season. So, I'm probably going to get a little tree, buy one of them from those awesome Christmas tree farmers that sell them, the wee little ones in Byward Market. They sell like mini trees that are really good for apartments. So yeah, I usually get one of those. What the heck? Why not?
Yeah, I've got a 3-year-old nephew as well who's big into Paw Patrol, so I imagine that's what we'll be doing this Christmas. Something along those lines. But Jen, you mentioned you're a Christmas person, so this last question, I think it's probably obvious. Is it too early to put up a Christmas tree? I'm going to say that you're going to say no.
Hell no. Yo, honestly, I'm like Mariah Carey, like straight up November 1st, like let's go. Like let's do this.
And I was mentioning this because I did see a couple of Christmas trees when I was walking the dog this week. Keenan, is it too early, or is any time good?
It's anytime's good. In our building, real trees are banned. So, but I typically build a big lighted tree that goes in my window. So that's a good reminder. I have to get to work on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess you'll have to get an air freshener for the smell of it. But we'll leave it there for right now. Keenan Wellar and Jenn Jefferys, thank you so much for your time this morning on a Saturday. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Keenan Wellar is the co-leader and director of communications with Live, Work, Play, and Jenn Jefferys is a freelance writer here in Ottawa. That's their thoughts. Your thoughts welcome, 580-580. You can also tweet us at CFRA Ottawa.